Hello, hello, and welcome back, or welcome. I am book lover Lorna, and I thought that today I might finally share with you what I believe to be my favourite read of 2020. Now, I did do a video in December, which was my favourite reads of 2020, but I think that this one is my top read, and to be quite honest, some of you may know this because I don't bloody shut up about it. Now, this book I was lucky enough to be sent to by a publisher, and that has no link to my views on it. I was like, yeah, give that book a go. Thank you very much for sending it. I'll, put you a review on Instagram, which is what I did. That was all I needed to do for this publisher. But it turned into one of my favourite books of the year, one of my favourite reads of the year. So, it's a big old deal. So that book is Secrets She Kept by Kathy Gulkey, and I rave about this so much, I think, because I don't think any people really know about it. There's reviews and everything on Goodreads, but I've just never seen anyone else talk about it, and it is amazing. So I will run you through a little bit about what it's about, English, and then I'll tell you the reasons why I love it. So this is the front just here, and if you see this book for sale, I would 100% buy it. Like, don't even doubt it. If you like The Tattooist of Auschwitz, Silke's Journey, historical fiction like World War II, Nazi Germany, that's where this lies, and it really is like a standout within those bubbles. So this book follows Hannah and Liz-Olette. Liz-Olette during World War II Nazi Germany. Her father is a member of the Nazi Party, and then we switch, basically with each chapter we switch between Liz-Olette during that time and forward in time to Hannah in the 1970s, and she is trying to find out, her mother has passed, and she's trying to find out more about her mother's past and history, essentially, and her family roots, because she doesn't really know any family, particularly from her mum's side. She has like no links there that she's aware of that her mum's ever introduced her to. Her mum was quite like kind of closed off and, secretive, guarded, which it would be, if you've been in a amongst a war. So essentially Hannah is trying to find out the history of her family. So we jump back and forward in time between Liz-Olette and Hannah, and the stories kind of run parallel in that Hannah finds out these things at the same time that we read about them from Liz-Olette's kind of world and perspective. And it is just such an incredible story. The more I read like historical fiction, World War II setting, I just, these things happen, but when you read about them, they just become so much more real. This is fiction, but I'm sure, 1000% sure that, this kind of storyline would have happened. And there would be families that went through this exact same thing, or, had members of the Nazi Party and etc., etc. But it's just so interesting, and this book is incredibly well written. It is... I enjoyed The Tattooist of Auschwitz to the extent that you can enjoy it, if you know what I mean. I'm just looking at it on my shelf now. But I think they're completely different stories, so it is hard to compare them. Obviously, The Tattooist of Auschwitz, we've got Lael and Gita, and, their love story. It is a love story. This is not a love story. This is a life story. It spans, over a larger section. Obviously, Tattooist of Auschwitz is essentially the story of them being in Auschwitz. This has is more encompassing, I would say, of more of a story that builds up to, everything that goes on. I don't want to give too much away because I really want you to just go and buy the book and read it yourself and find out what happens. But yeah, it's breathtaking at some points. You just can't comprehend some of the things that are written in this book. It comes across so well, both Liz-Olette's parts and Hannah's parts. I think the parts that I preferred more, obviously I loved it all, I think Liz-Olette's parts I found quite, took it a lot more out of you to read, but then possibly because they could be quite draining and hard-hitting, it was good to come, forward in time to the 70s with Hannah and just have like a break from the hard-hitting stuff and be like, gosh, God, okay. And you can see how Hannah would deal with finding out like certain pieces of information and everything. So I think that worked really, really well. I do love books that have different character perspectives, and then that they change in time. Thankfully, it did have date stamps on these time changes, because my brain just cannot cope when these things don't have date stamps. They change time and you've no idea what date or what year it is. So I'm thankful that it had that. Really, really enjoyed the like dual character perspective, and it's quite interesting to see how Hannah learnt the things about her mum and what the actual case was. You know, reading it from Liz Allette's world, that was quite interesting, actually, quite an interesting thing. I do think in this book as well, you couldn't 100% see where these things were coming. There were quite a few twists and turns. I mean, there was one character who, yeah, I dislike, and if you read the book, you'll dislike him too. He's a bit of a bum hole. Yeah, he's a bit of a bum hole. And I think you could kind of see where he was going in the story. He's a bit of a villain. Oh, I mean, there's a lot of villains. It's Wildball too, you know. But there are quite a few things I just didn't see coming. The big twist in the book from Liz Allette's point of view, I just didn't see it coming. So it is, you know, so well written to the point that you can't predict it. And actually, talking about this now does make me think, yeah, I've definitely made the right kind of choice in my mind that this would be my top read of the year. I will definitely be rereading this at some point. It's definitely worth a reread. I will wait a little bit just so that I can kind of read it with fresh eyes, so that I won't necessarily remember so much of it, because I only read it, was it October, maybe? I think maybe October time. I read it, yeah, because I posted my review on 11/11, so I think, yeah, I did read this in October time. I do need it to be fresher, I think, for me to enjoy it quite so much again. And I reckon on the reread I will enjoy it quite so much. I might maybe notice some things that I didn't notice before, some like links and little, you know, things, signposts and everything. I might notice a little bit more when I read it next time. So I'm interested to see how that goes. But yeah, favourite read of 2020. Go and order it. A Secret She Kept by Kathy Golke. You need to read this book, particularly if you like historical fiction, which I've only just found my feet in, and I'm loving it. But anyway, thank you very much for watching. Happy reading. Go buy this book. Go read this book. Go and enjoy it, and I'll see you all soon. Bye!